Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today in this video we are going to discuss and explain three interesting questions from your textbook. So let's get started. The first question says, why do suspended particles settle in muddy water over time but not in case of milk? Now let's understand this properly. If we take a glass of clean water and mix some mud into it and stir it properly with a spoon, we will see that the water becomes muddy. But after leaving it for some time, we notice something interesting. The mud particles settle down at the bottom of the glass and the upper part of the water becomes clearer. So, why does this happen? This happens because the particles of mud are heavier and larger in size. Due to the gravity, they slowly move down and settle at the bottom. This process is called sedimentation. But in the case of milk, even though it is also a mixture, the particles present in the milk are extremely fine and evenly distributed. They are so small that gravity is not strong enough to pull them down and separate them. That is why milk remains uniform and does not settle even after hours. So now moving to the second question, why is evaporation different from boiling? At first, both may look the same because in both cases water changes into water vapor. For example, when we boil water, we see bubbles forming and steam coming out. And when we dry wet cloths in the sun, the water slowly disappears and the cloths become dry. So in both cases, liquid water turns into gas, but the difference is in how they happen. Boiling happens at a fixed temperature, like for example 100 degree Celsius for water. It happens quickly and throughout the liquid and with bubbles forming inside. But evaporation, on the other hand, happens slowly at any temperature. It only happens from the surface of the liquid. That is why clothes take time to dry. So, both are the same type of changes, but they are different in speed, temperature, and process. So I hope you understood the second question. Now the third question. It says, why do we see bright rays of sunlight through small gaps in trees? Like when sunlight passes through small openings between the leaves, we see bright visible rays in the air. So this happens because the light gets scattered by the tiny dust particles present in the air. Because of this scattering, the path of light becomes visible in our eyes. This is called Tyndall effect. So basically, we can see sunlight rays only when there are tiny particles in the air to scatter the light. So here in this section, if we discuss about Tyndall effect, so basically the Tyndall effect is the scattering of light by very tiny particles present in a particular mixture. Let's take an example, air. So basically air normally looks transparent, so we cannot see the path of light passing through it. However, air contains tiny dust particles like smoke particles and water droplets. So, when a beam of sunlight enters a room through a window, these tiny particles present in the air scatter the light. As a result, the path of the sunlight becomes visible to us. And this scattering of light by tiny particles present in the air is basically called Tyndall effect.